Hello again. Today on MultiGeek I'm going to show you how to make a sourdough starter. It seems that a lot of us are doing more baking in the pandemic lockdown, or maybe some if you didn't usually do any before. I see a lot of crazy recipes for sourdough starter on the internet. It's actually incredibly simple, and as you've probably seen, everything I do in the kitchen on MultiGeek I try to show how easy it is. So here we go on sourdough starter. All you need are 2 ingredients, flour and water. Or actually 3 ingredients, flour and water. When you enter the world of baking with sourdough, it's best to switch to a metric system, moving away from cups and ounces to metric and measuring everything, which means you need a scale that works in metric. This is a small and simple one I got on Amazon for about 10 bucks, a Scali P115C. So turn your scale on, you make sure it's set to grams. You put a measure on it, or just a bowl or something that you can put flour in, and you zero it, which is called tare. For a sourdough starter, you need 2 kinds of flour. You need a white flour and a brown flour, or a quote-unquote whole wheat flour. Technically, they both need to be whole grain. So when you're shopping for flour, you need a white one and a brown one. They both need to say they are whole grain. You should look at the ingredient list. It should not say that anything is taken out or put in. So it should not be bleached, and it should not have any chemicals taken out or put in. The sole ingredient should be wheat flour. So here's our white flour, and we need 50 grams of it. A little more, we're at 46. And there we are. Now you need some sort of mixing bowl, mixing vessel, glass or plastic. I prefer clear that you can see through, that you're going to grow your starter in. So this is a Pyrex one with a plastic lid. 50 grams of white flour goes into your starter bowl. 50 grams of brown flour goes into your starter bowl. 52, take a tiny bit off, and there we go, 50 grams of brown flour into your starter bowl. Our recipe is 50-50-100. 50 grams of white, 50 grams of brown, 100 grams of water. I'm going to run over to the faucet and get 100 grams of filtered water. Okay, here's our 100 grams of filtered water. Into the mixing bowl it goes. And you stir it up. That is the entire recipe for sourdough starter. So we mix this up, we get it nicely mixed, and we leave it out on the counter, uncovered. And if you have a kitchen window, or a kitchen window with a window sill, where you can leave it inside, and leave it out, and let it be exposed to the outside air, that's great. So there we are. That is the beginning of our starter. So in my case, I leave it on the kitchen window sill. I open the kitchen window, and I leave it there for part of the day, and I leave it sitting on the counter for part of the day, uncovered. What's going to happen is depending on your climate and your temperature and humidity, it's going to dry out. Perhaps on day 1, you may need to add a little water and mix it up. Certainly on day 2, you'll need to add a little water and mix it up. And if there's a sort of a dry crust on top, don't remove it, just stir it in. Keep doing that, trying to keep it at the same consistency as this. Sometime between day 3 and day 8 or 9, it's going to start to bubble if it's alive. What you have is a science experiment on the counter. That bubble is the carbon dioxide gas. It's the process of the natural yeasts in the air that fell into your starter. They started eating the proteins in the flour, and the byproduct is carbon dioxide gas and alcohol, which is the extra liquid you see. Once it's bubbling, throw half of it out and add to it exactly what we did, 50-50-100. And the next day it'll be bubbling, and do the same. So I'm going to turn the camera off. I'm going to come back later today and tomorrow and check this and see if I need to touch it up a little bit. Here we are on day 2 with the new sourdough starter. After I made it yesterday, it spent most of the day on the windowsill with the window open. Twice it dried out quite a bit on top. There was sort of a dry cap. I added a tiny bit of water and stirred it again, stirring the dry cap under. And now this morning of day 2, I have a couple of gas bubbles. So I will do the same today. I'll put it back on the windowsill and watch it. It may need a little water again, but this is actually the earliest I've seen gas bubbles, so probably tomorrow or the next day it'll be active enough that I can throw half of it away and feed it. So if that doesn't happen in this episode, it will happen in the next one. MultiGeek out.